Usually when we talk about a great, world-saving victory, there is this ingrained, almost cultural expectation of finality.
Right, the neat little bow.
Exactly. You slay the dragon, the dark fortress crumbles to the ground, the heroes strike a cinematic pose, and then the screen just fades to black. It's clean, it's comforting.
Yeah, we desperately want that binary outcome, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. We want the evil to be vanquished, and then with the good guys drinking ale at the local tavern while the credits roll.
But stepping into the aftermath of a true cataclysmic struggle, it really reveals that the neat little fairy tale is a total lie.
A complete lie.
What you actually get is a post-victory landscape that just operates as this living, breathing nightmare.
Waking up in a smoking crater while the world literally burns around you. And that is exactly the premise of today's deep dive. We are jumping straight into the smoke, the sulfur, and the suffocating ash of Scene 26. Echoes of the Crown from the Far Battle campaign.
It is a heavy one.
It really is. We are pulling from the raw campaign notes, the deeply detailed character backstory folios, and the tactical grid layouts. Our mission today is to unpack the exact mechanics of what happens when extreme trauma, deeply ingrained psychological flaws, and a suddenly power vacuum city all just collide in real time.
Yeah, it's the morning after.
Exactly. We're looking at the moment the adrenaline crashes, the spell slots are totally empty, the healing potions are dry, and the real mess begins.
To really ground this analysis, we have to look at the physical reality of the climax that triggered this specific aftermath.
Right.
The core fellowship, so that's Welsies, Atenimus, Aaron, Bip, and Zora, they just survived an apocalyptic siege inside the Iron Crown fortress.
Which is an insane location to begin with.
Right, this isn't a standard stone keep. The Iron Crown is this jagged, brutalist iron monolith suspended directly over a bubbling, active lava lake in the volcanic fire islands of Ashwillow.
Just a total environmental hazard zone.
Exactly. And the stakes of that fight were astronomical. They went head-to-head with the Hand of Gormak.
Yeah, this wasn't just your standard run-of-the-mill pirate skirmish. They fought a towering Goliath warlord who, right at the precipice of defeat.
I love this part.
Right. He has his armor violently shattered as actual biological form warps and swells into this massive construct of pure demonic purple energy.
He was forcibly turned into a literal vessel for the greater demon Gormak.
Right in front of them. The physics of that transformation alone, the sheer thermal and magical radiation cooking the air inside that fortress, that completely sets the stage for the exhaustion they're suffering right now.
Oh, without a doubt. The fallout from defeating that entity was catastrophic to their physical and psychic baseline.
Yeah, let's talk about their condition.
Let's examine their physiological state at the very top of Scene 26. So Zora's psychic reserves are entirely burnt out.
Like completely empty.
Right. She isn't just asleep. She is practically comatose. The sheer arcane bandwidth required to, channel localized lightning through a fog cloud just to bypass the Goliath's magical resistance, it practically short-circuited her nervous system.
Wow. And then you look at Welsies. His matte black adamantium armor is literally melted to his skin.
Melted. Yeah.
He stood as the vanguard against a demonic vessel, taking over 50 points of massive blunt force and necrotic damage in a single sequence of strikes.
It's a miracle he's standing.
And Aaron. His physical stamina is sitting at roughly, 10% of his maximum capacity?
Barely 10%, yeah.
They are bleeding, they are hyperventilating, and they are actively dragging Zora's limp, unresponsive body across crumbling, millimeter-wide obsidian ledges over an active volcano, just to escape the collapsing fortress.
Which naturally forces a tactical decision born of pure desperation.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Right. To secure their retreat from the surviving pirate defenders, Atenimus makes a choice that fundamentally alters the moral trajectory of the entire group.
It really does.
He reaches into the chaotic weave of his magic and summons a ravening greater demon right into the center of the Iron Crown's main hall.
And just leaves it there.
Just leaves it there as a distraction.
Let's really drill down into the mechanics of that decision, because think about how a warlock's patron connection actually works in this universe.
It's fascinating.
It's not just a contract signed in blood, It's more like operating on a compromised VPN network.
That is a perfect analogy.
Right. The warlock gets access to this immense encrypted magical data, but the patron installs a malicious backdoor directly into the warlock's psyche.
Yes.
And Atenimus is bound to a lesser demon who has already used that exact backdoor to force him to steal prophetic artifacts and even murder a fellow chosen one.
He's incredibly compromised.
So by tearing a hole in reality and pulling a greater demon into the material plane,
Yeah.
Etenemus isn't just casting a spell. He is widening that back door. He is flooding the network with malware.
He really is. That Vicus analogy perfectly illustrates the hidden cost of the magic. He leverages the malicious code to solve an immediate problem.
Like setting your own house on fire to deal with a termite problem.
Exactly. Sure, the termites are dead, but now you have a raging inferno to outrun. Mechanically, ripping a tear in the material plane to summon abyssal horrors, it leaves a residue. It destabilizes the local magical field.
And morally.
Morally, it's indefensible. He is intentionally unleashing a localized apocalypse just to cover his own tracks. He is letting a demon physically tear pirate defenders limb from limb so his friends can walk away.
If you are tracking their alignment, I mean, this is a massive slide into the dark.
Huge slide.
And it casts Zora's current state in a completely different light, too. You contrast who she is right now, this broken, battered living weapon being dragged out of a demonic war zone, with where she started in Dustmere.
Oh, the juxtaposition is incredible.
When the dragons first attacked her home city, she was a sheltered noble. She was terrified, falling into blast craters, panicking in the rush for the evacuation portals.
Right, the psychological shift is staggering. The turning point for her was Zephyr City, where she discovered her brother's corpse in the Sunspire catacombs.
That moment changed everything.
It did. That grief didn't just make her sad, it calcified her. She burned away every trace of her noble upbringing, replacing it with pure, highly destructive arcane force.
Yeah.
So the physical toll we see on her body in Ashwillow, the burnt-out nervous system, the comatose state, it's actually the biological manifestation of her emotional devastation. She has weaponized her own trauma.
Which makes their eventual arrival at the Wave Guild hideout feel less like a victory lap and more like a crash landing.
Oh, completely.
They drag themselves into this clandestine smuggling den, a place that, remember, originally helped them infiltrate the Fire Islands, and they just collapse. They take a long, desperate rest.
Much needed.
But when they finally open their eyes the next morning, the hideout is in a state of absolute pandemonium.
It's chaos.
The Wave Guild smugglers, these hardened veteran criminals, are frantically packing all their illicit goods and fleeing through emergency teleportation portals.
This specific environmental detail is a brilliant piece of world building, honestly.
How so?
Well, we have to analyze the logistics of illicit trade networks in Ashwillow. The Wave Guild operates directly under the noses of heavy pirate armadas and corrupt city guards.
They're professionals.
Right. They have highly secure, hidden infrastructure. Portals are incredibly expensive and dangerous to maintain. So if these hardened operators are abandoning their multi-million gold piece infrastructure, it tells us that the systemic collapse outside those walls is absolute.
Wow.
They have run the socio-economic calculus and realized that the city is no longer viable.
If the rats are abandoning a ship this heavily fortified, the ship isn't just sinking, it's already vaporized.
Precisely.
But this forces us to confront the central philosophical tension of the entire Far Battle campaign. The Shattered Veil prophecy explicitly demands violence to seal the abyssal rifts.
He does.
But to fight a cosmic evil like Gormak, are they inherently required to unleash these lesser evils? Etenemus summoning a demon to escape, the party triggering a systemic collapse of an entire city. Are they becoming the exact monsters they were prophesied to destroy?
That is the million-dollar question. The prophecy provides the overarching objective, but it offers zero guidance on the methodology.
Right. It doesn't give them a manual.
Exactly. The universe demands they close the gate of the bound, but it really doesn't care if they have to burn Ashwillow to the ground to do it. The party is realizing that surviving the big bad isn't the end of the job.
It's just the beginning.
Yeah. The sheer kinetic force of their actions creates vast secondary disasters.
Which they walk right into the moment they step out of that hideout. Word of the hand of Gormak's death hasn't just spread, it is detonated across Ashwillow like a shockwave.
We are looking at the immediate physics of a power vacuum.
Yeah, talk about that.
Ashwillow was a heavily structured pirate haven held together by the gravity of the Goliath warlord's sheer brutality. The moment that gravity disappears, the orbital bodies, so the local pirate factions, the fanatic cult remnants of Gormak's forces, the opportunistic street gangs, they violently collide.
It's a bloodbath.
The city erupts into mob-scale, block-by-block street fighting.
It is an active urban war zone. You have cultists trying to maintain control, local pirates trying to seize territory, fires raging through the sulfurous heat of the volcanic island. And what does our team still bruised, still nursing cracked ribs and burnt-out spell slots, decide to do?
Oh, this is the craziest part.
They decide to step directly into this massive riot to, and I'm quoting the campaign notes directly here, test their recovery.
That phrase should send a chill down your spine. Test their recovery.
Right.
It perfectly encapsulates how normalized extreme lethal violence has become for these specific individuals. Normal people gauge their health by their cardiovascular stamina or, their lack of physical pain.
Exactly. Like, can I walk without my knee hurting?
Right. But the party gauges their baseline health by observing how efficiently they can execute hostile targets in an active combat zone.
That's messed up.
It is a terrifying psychological adaptation to the world they inhabit.
The sensory overload of this environment, the ringing steel, the screaming, the heat, it acts as a psychological pressure cooker.
Yes, it forces a split.
It forces the party to immediately splinter. They aren't reacting as a cohesive tactical unit anymore. They're reacting purely on their deepest, most ingrained character flaws and backgrounds.
Completely instinctual.
Like Wellesley's. Our adamantium-clad paladin doesn't hesitate for a microsecond. He immediately drives his spectral steed forward, swinging his massive great axe C-3PO directly into the fray. And he secures a hard-fought victory for the local city guard who are being overrun by cultists.
To understand the weight of this action, we have to pull from Wellesley's specific lore.
Okay, lay it out for us.
He is a paladin bound by the oath of vengeance. He operates as the brutal punisher of this world, but crucially, his deepest personal vendetta is against pirates.
Right.
We know from the interrogation sessions with Pirate Admiral Jack Windbeard that Wellesley's own family was systematically purged and erased from history by these very pirate clans when they consolidated under Gormak's cult.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. I have to push back hard on this.
Okay, go for it.
Isn't Wellesley's being a massive hypocrite here? He is a devout, uncompromising holy warrior whose entire bloodline was eradicated by pirates. How on earth does he justify acting as a mercenary to save a squad of local pirate city guards? He is swinging a blessed divine weapon to protect cutthroats and thieves.
It absolutely looks like hypocrisy on the surface, but underneath it is a masterclass in gritty, utilitarian calculus.
How so?
Wellesley's is processing the battlefield through a strict hierarchy of threats. The fanatical remnants of Gormak's cult represent an existential cosmic evil. They are actively trying to unmake reality.
Okay, fair.
The pirate guards, while personally abhorrent to him, represent a localized terrestrial evil. He makes the painful, pragmatic decision to ally with the lesser evil to eradicate the greater one.
Wow.
He is actively suppressing his deepest personal trauma, the murder of his family, to serve the immediate tactical needs of the prophecy.
That is some heavy compartmentalization. Now, while Wellesley's is having this intense, morally complex battlefield epiphany, we pan the camera over just a few feet away, and the visual contrast is absolutely jarring.
Oh, it's so funny.
Atinimus is casually kneeling amidst the friend corpses in the middle of this screaming riot. He is systematically pickpocketing the dead, eventually finding and pocketing a finely crafted brass spyglass worth about 100 gold pieces.
We have to look at the psychology of that looting, though. It's not just greed. Atinimus has a well-documented compulsive gambling habit.
Right, Donmere.
Yes, we've seen him place wagers on active blood sports in Donmere, and we've seen him gamble against hostile sprites in Fey dungeons while his friends were actively in danger. So the act of scavenging a 100 gold spyglass while the world ends, it is a form of deep psychological dissociation.
It's an anchor to normalcy. Think about the economy of a 100 gold piece item in an apocalyptic inflation scenario. It's entirely useless if the world literally ends.
Completely useless.
But for Atinimus, the act of acquiring wealth, the dopamine hit of the gamble, grounds him. He doesn't view the war zone as a tragic loss of life. His demonic influence and his gambling addiction force him to view the carnage strictly as an unharvested resource.
Exactly. And then you have Aaron, who reacts in an entirely different, yet equally pragmatic way.
Yeah, Aaron's reaction is wild.
Aaron steps into the sprawling carnage, looks at the fires, looks at the bodies, and just lets out an indifferent sigh.
Just a sigh.
He completely ignores the immediate physical threat and tunes out the bloodshed to focus entirely on gathering intelligence from the chaotic, overlapping chatter of the crowd.
If you analyze Aaron's psychological profile, this cold stoicism is deeply rooted in his childhood trauma. His father was permanently crippled by a mountain orc war party when Aaron was young.
Right.
That event completely destroyed his family's livelihood in Mistwood Vale.
Right.
Aaron learned at a formative age that chaotic, localized battles only bring senseless destruction.
He possesses a strict military bearing layered directly over that trauma. Mechanically speaking, his passive perception is dialed to the maximum, but his emotional empathy is totally flatlined.
Yeah, he doesn't care at all.
He views this pirate civil war as entirely irrelevant to his personal mission. He does not care if the warlords slaughter the cultists or vice versa, but tactically, he understands that in a fluid, chaotic, urban environment, information is the only currency that actually guarantees survival.
I really want you, the listener, to put yourself inside this tactical dilemma. You wake up physically wrecked. The city is literally tearing itself apart. You survive the demon, but the fallout is a meat grinder.
It's a nightmare.
How do you process that environment? Do you try to impose moral order through violence like Welsies? Do you dissociate and secure your own material future like Atenemus? Or do you compartmentalize the horror and hunt for actionable intel like Aaron?
And it turns out Aaron's hyper-focused intelligence gathering is what actually pushes the narrative forward. By tuning out the noise of the riot, he intercepts a massive, actionable piece of information regarding a high-value prisoner.
That changes everything.
It completely shifts the team's operational paradigm. They stop wandering the streets in survival mode and immediately transition into a highly targeted precision rescue operation.
Right, so Aaron discovers that Toxana, a notoriously fierce pirate queen, and a towering Goliath barbarian, is currently trapped deep inside the subterranean levels of the local prisons.
A Goliath barbarian pirate queen.
Just exactly who you want on your side in a riot. The party runs a very cold, simple calculation. If they can liberate a localized military heavyweight within this pirate city, they might secure a massive allied force to throw at Gormak's remnants.
But we have to appreciate the architectural nightmare of an Ashwillow prison. This isn't a standard dungeon.
No.
This is a subterranean holding facility carved directly into the volcanic rock. That means the ambient heat and sulfur toxicity are constantly draining their stamina.
Just breathing is exhausting.
Exactly. The party has to execute a coordinated stealth-based strike, creeping behind the active battle lines, reinforcing the surviving cell block guards who are currently being slaughtered by cultists, and pushing deep into the darkest sectors of the block just to reach her cell.
They are running on absolute fumes. But they managed to secure the perimeter around Toxana's heavily fortified cell. And this leads to what is arguably the most thematic clash in the entire campaign.
Oh, the scene is so good.
Welsi steps up to the heavy iron bars. He leans into his role as the devout paladin. He attempts to impart the crushing cosmic weight of the Shattered Veil prophecy to her.
He really tries.
He explains the purple glow, the abyssal rifts, the literal end of reality that is binding their fates together. And Toxana's reaction.
She lets out a booming, chest-rattling, derisive laugh.
She looks this heavily armored, divinely empowered paladin dead in the eye and dismisses his ancient world-ending prophecy as the senseless wailing of crying babies.
It's brutal.
And then, rather than waiting for them to unlock the door, she casually reaches up, grips the heavy iron lock of her own cell, and snaps it barehanded.
Just snaps it.
She storms out, unleashes a fierce guttural battle cry that rallies every surviving prisoner and guard in the block, and charges up the steps to violently take back her city.
She doesn't even say thank you.
No. She offers no thanks. She just tosses a passing command over a massive shoulder for the team to seek her out after she finishes clearing the streets.
The thematic friction in this interaction is incredible. Up until this exact microsecond, the purple glow, the haunting visions from Atenemus's patron, the strict bureaucratic demands of the High Council in Zephyra, this overarching prophecy has dictated the party's every move.
It's their whole world.
Right. It has been a suffocating, unbearable psychological burden. Toxana serves as a violent, jarring reality check. She fundamentally rejects the premise that cosmic destiny even matters.
Think about the sheer arrogance of the party here.
Yeah.
They walk into a warlord's cell and expect her to immediately care about their celestial mandate.
Yeah.
Explaining a cosmic prophecy to Toxana is like trying to explain the intricate mathematics of orbital mechanics to a Category 5 hurricane.
Yes.
The hurricane does not care about the alignment of the stars or the gravitational pull of the moon. It only cares about the immediate path of destruction directly in front of it.
That is precisely it. We are looking at the clash between the burden of destiny and the raw power of localized ambition.
Right.
Aaron is haunted by the crippling of his father.
Right.
Welsies is driven by an unyielding need for divine retribution. Atenemus is quite literally enslaved by a demon. Their motivations are massive, heavy, and exhausting.
And Toxana.
Toxana's motivation is breathtakingly simple. Someone took her city, and she's going to murder them until she has it back. She completely bypasses the need for a magical script to justify her violence.
But from a purely tactical perspective, didn't the team just make a catastrophic error?
How do you mean?
They navigated a subterranean volcanic prison, hoping to secure a reasonable ally, someone they could negotiate terms with. Instead, they essentially threw a lit stick of dynamite into a blender and hit pulse.
Well, yeah.
Is Tuxana actually an asset to the far battle, or is she just a hyper-violent warlord they're eventually going to have to put down themselves?
It is a massive calculated risk that deeply challenges their identity as the chosen ones. They expected reverence, they got mocked. However, before she charged up those stairs, she did imply she possessed something of worth that could aid their overarching fight against Gormak. The team is forced into a position of passive reliance.
They just have to hope.
Exactly. They have to hope that her localized, indiscriminate destruction will inadvertently clear a path for their cosmic goals. And structurally, in the immediate short term, it does.
It really does.
With a Goliath barbarian acting as a one-woman siege engine, pulverizing the pirate and cultist lines ahead of them, the party finds themselves walking safely in the bizarrely quiet, blood-soaked wake of her rampage.
Which deposits them directly into the eerie, untouched silence of the merchant's quarter.
A total shift in tone.
This brings us to the spoils of the wake. So what does this all mean?
We have to analyze the environmental storytelling of this specific zone. The party is following Toxana's path of carnage. The merchant's quarter has been entirely abandoned by living foes. Anyone who is stationed here either fled in terror from Toxana or was physically crushed by her.
So it's completely empty.
Right. The team finds themselves in the unguarded center of Ashwillow's wealth. And what do these prophesied heroes, these saviors of the realm, do?
Oh boy.
They systematically and ruthlessly strip the area of its hidden treasures.
We really need to talk about the mechanics of this loot, because it perfectly illustrates the ambient magical ecosystem of the Fire Islands. Aaron, our stoic ranger, uncovers a sleek, shimmering cloak of the manta ray, a highly potent potion of giant strength, and an intricately crafted, animated ship in a bottle that is actually rocking on a localized phantom tide trapped within the glass.
Let's break down the physics of that specific item, the ship in a bottle. This isn't just a trinket, it is a profound piece of world building.
Yeah, it's so cool.
To trap a phantom tide inside a glass bottle implies an ambient sea magic that is inextricably tied to the pirate culture of Ashwillow. It suggests that the local mages don't just manipulate elements, they manipulate the conceptual nature of the ocean itself.
Like miniaturizing tidal forces and binding them to physical objects. And think about Aaron grabbing the cloak of the manta ray. If you are managing Aaron's tactical inventory, you know this isn't just about stealth. It fundamentally alters his combat geometry.
Oh, absolutely.
He goes from being a terrestrial ranger to having a completely different axis of vertical and aquatic mobility in a volcanic archipelago defined by water and lava.
It's a massive tactical upgrade, but the moral implications of the loot get much heavier when we look at Welsies.
Oh man, Welsies.
The honorable, devout paladin who just mental gymnasts his way into justifying saving pirates for the greater good. In his search, he acquires a masterfully balanced +2 dagger, a dangerous canvas-like portable hole, and a sealed parchment invitation to a highly exclusive, secret underground auction.
The narrative friction of Welsies holding that auction invite is brilliant.
Yeah.
It forces the most rigidly lawful character in the party directly into the illicit black market underbelly of the world.
We've seen this before with him.
Right. We saw him struggle with this exact moral gray area during the Zephyr-conquered bank heist, where he had to compromise his oaths and use his knowledge of dwarven runes to help his friends rob a vault. Now, he holds the key to a criminal auction. It is a continuous grinding test of his oath of vengeance against the cold, practical realities of funding an apocalyptic war.
And we cannot ignore the terrifying spatial geometry of giving this specific party a portable hole.
That's just a recipe for disaster.
A portable hole is an extra-dimensional space folded into a piece of cloth. Now consider Bip, the party's rogue. This is the same character whose tactical mindset led him to tie a ringing bell to a fleeing, terrified villager purely to distract a dragon.
That was wild.
Handing an extra-dimensional tear in space-time to a team known for incredibly chaotic, improvised solutions is a disaster waiting to happen. How are they going to weaponize that spatial geometry?
I can't wait to find out. But Welsies compromising his morals for a portable hole is one thing. Handing experimental black market artillery to someone already bound to a demon is where survival crosses into active self-sabotage.
You're talking about autonomous.
Autonomous claims a polished silver ring of evasion, an animated rope, and a heavy, incredibly volatile prototype of a portable cannon. The source material explicitly describes the engineering of this black powder magic as erratic and highly likely to blow up in the user's face.
We have to return to the compromised VPN analogy for Autonomous's warlock magic. His patron constantly pushes him toward reckless, destructive choices to widen that backdoor into the material plane.
Right.
Handing a volatile, experimental, explosive device to a character whose very soul is bound to chaos is a recipe for absolute devastation. It mirrors his earlier decision to summon the greater demon.
It's a pattern.
Yes. He is constantly drawn to high-risk, high-yield destructive tools, completely disregarding the collateral damage to himself or his allies. The patron wants chaos. The cannon delivers chaos.
Let's pull back and look at the macro picture here. We have this incredible cinematic visual, the eerie, abandoned calm of the merchant's quarter. You have the blood, the ringing steel, and the screams of the prison riot echoing in the far distance, while our heroes are quietly, methodically stripping luxurious storehouses of contraband.
It's so dystopian.
But I have to challenge this narrative trajectory. Why are they so completely comfortable robbing a city blind? Aaron's entire core motivation is clearing his name from a false bounty in Mistwood Vale. Welsy's is a holy warrior.
Yeah.
Yet in this moment, they are operating exactly like the pirate warlords they just slaughtered. Has the apocalypse entirely eroded their morality?
That question is the exact thesis of this entire scene. The apocalypse has absolutely eroded their morality. They are no longer operating under the social contracts or laws of a civilized world because that world is currently on fire. They are operating purely under the brutal physics of survival. The act of methodical looting is their overarching survival strategy. They are gearing up for the inevitable final confrontation with Gormak, and they know that rigid honor won't pierce a demon's hide.
Wow.
But a +2 dagger, a potion of giant strength, and an unstable black powder cannon just might. They have deeply internalized a horrific truth. To save the world, they have to become apex predators within it.
It is incredibly dark, but it is a masterclass in dynamic world building. Let's synthesize the sheer density of what we just analyzed.
Yeah, it's a lot.
In the span of a single scene, this party survived a catastrophic boss fight, escaped the fallout by ripping a hole in reality to summon a demon, navigated the socioeconomic collapse of an urban war zone, unleashed a Goliath pirate queen who actively mocked their cosmic destiny, and then armed themselves to the teeth with volatile black market contraband.
It proves that in the intricate architecture of the Far Battle campaign, surviving the big bad is only ever half the job. Navigating the messy, morally gray, and highly volatile power vacuum of the aftermath requires an entirely different, much darker skill set.
For you listening, analyzing your own games or narratives, this is why deep diving into these mechanics matters. It shows exactly how power vacuums function organically in fantasy settings.
Absolutely.
It proves that deeply ingrained, well-crafted character flaws, like Autonomous's compulsive gambling and demonic pact, or Welsy's rigid but constantly tested paladin oaths, drive complex narrative choices far better than any scripted, overarching prophecy ever could.
The ultimate takeaway here is that while the Shattered Veil prophecy might be providing the geographical destination, their moment-to-moment survival relies entirely on gritty, immediate pragmatism.
Yes.
Whether that means a paladin actively protecting pirates despite a cult, a traumatized ranger ignoring a bloody riot to gather tactical intel, or a compromised warlock grabbing an experimental explosive, they are constantly mutating to survive a broken world.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a lingering, highly provocative thought about the nature of this world. Think back to Toxana the Pirate Queen.
Oh, Toxana.
She stood in that cell and completely dismissed the apocalyptic prophecy as the senseless wailing of crying babies. She didn't just ignore it, she found the very concept of a cosmic script laughable. What if? She is entirely right.
From a meta-narrative perspective, that is a terrifying proposition.
What if the Shattered Veil prophecy isn't a celestial mandate at all? What if the entire concept of the purple glow and the chosen ones is actually a massive, multi-generational psychological operation used by the demon Gormak to manipulate and control the most powerful pieces on the board?
Oh.
What if the real way to win the Far Battle isn't to follow the cosmic script they've been handed, but to violently reject it entirely? To stop acting like pawns of destiny and just fight for the physical ground under your feet, using whatever brutal ambition you have, exactly like Toxana. Think about the mechanics of the game you are playing. Let that sit with you. The fairy tale is over, the dragon is dead. But the morning after is when the real war begins.